Okay, this is the ingredients that are needed for the butternut squash pumpkin soup. So you're gonna need about 3 containers of the butternut squash. I like to buy it already cubed because you don't have to worry about cutting it up. So there's 13 ounces in each package, and I have 3 packs. If you have more or less, you can adjust your soup accordingly. We're not going to be so precise in measurements. I'm just going to show you my technique and my spices and how I get it done. So I'm going to use sage, chopped onion. I bought it already diced so I could save some time, preparing. Fresh ginger, but if you have powdered ginger, that's going to be just fine. I have salt. You can use pink salt or whatever salt you have, white salt. Black pepper. I have extra virgin olive oil spray, but you can have just regular extra virgin olive oil and utilize that. Some vegetable broth, my pumpkin spice, and some nutmeg. But if you just have the pumpkin spice, that's fine. If you have ground cloves, ground ginger, and ground nutmeg, that's fine. You can really play with the spices. And then I have 2 red apples. You want to try and use sweet apples because I don't want to really add any sugar to my soup. I mean, you can certainly put a teaspoon or 2 of brown sugar, but I like natural sugar because what I'm trying to do is keep this soup as healthy as possible. It's going to be vegan and it's going to taste creamy and delicious that you would never believe that there's no cream in it. So this is basically it. Don't forget your fresh sage. That's very important. If you don't have fresh sage, it's fine. You can just use your ground sage and that'll work too. But this is just to give you an idea. This is exactly what you'll need. Okay, don't forget canned pumpkin. I'm also gonna show you guys how to save money at the store. So as I go through the ingredients, I'm gonna tell you like, if I know where there's a good deal to get canned pumpkin, say, or veggie broth. I'm gonna tell you where I shop because I think right now, especially now, it's important to save money and to stretch your dollars. And this is a soup that's hearty, filling, and it's not expensive to make at all. And if you serve this with a grilled cheese or a salad and a grilled cheese, I mean, you have a complete healthy, filling meal and you'll have leftovers also. So this is gonna feed a crowd and you are gonna love it because it's warm, hot, nourishing, everything that your stomach craves, but at the same time, it's so nutritious. So here we go. Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be making butternut squash pumpkin soup. And the best part about it, it's vegan, it's extremely healthy, and it's extremely affordable. And the best part, it's so delicious and it's just so good for your body. It warms you up and it's just like a great big giant hug for your soul, for your heart, and for your stomach. So here we go. I start with pre-cut butternut squash. The reason I use the pre-cut butternut squash, it's time saving. It makes sense. I get 3 packs, but if you want to buy more, you can buy 4 packs and just increase the volume of your soup. If you don't have as much, you have 2 packs, that'll work just fine. So what I like to do is preheat my oven. My oven is already preheated. I have it at 425 degrees. So you can even go 450. You'll see in my cooking that it's not an exact science, it's not an exact recipe, but it's the tools that you need to get the job done, and we are gonna stretch your dollars. So the most important thing to me is to feed my family and to do it affordably and healthy, because those 2 things are really important to me. I grew up having to stretch a dollar and stretch a buck, and one thing my grandmother always told me and taught me was you don't have to spend a lot of money to make a great meal for your family and impress people. It's so doable, and I'm gonna show you it's so simple. Okay, so I'm gonna roast the 3 packages of the butternut squash, and I'm gonna also roast it with chopped diced onion. Try and use your sweet onion, but you can use what you have in the house. I bought this pre-cut because it's a time saver, and that's the only reason really, because when I get home from work, I just try to just make myself have an easy way of doing things, and I like shortcuts. For my recipe, I'm gonna use 2 red apples. Red apples are sweeter than green apples, and I don't even bother peeling it. So when you get home, wash your hands, wash your veggies and your fruit, and These two I'm going to use in my soup without even peeling, and I have some fresh sage. I rinse the sage and then I put it right into the pot or whatever in my roasting pan, and I'm going to show you how it's done. So, like I said, the oven is preheating. It's nice and hot. And here's another trick, guys. When you're roasting or baking and you have your cookie sheets or your baking trays, you can get pre-cut parchment paper. And I know it doesn't sound like much, but this is like big to me. I was like excited to find it. I didn't even know about it until like a year or two ago. And I get it from Oasis Baking Supply. And you can find it there as well. And I'm sure they sell it other places too, but that's where I like to purchase mine. It always comes right away, and I just love these pre-cut sheets. They're wonderful. They're wonderful. I don't have to worry about pulling out the roll and ripping the roll and getting it to fit my pan. They just work great for me. Okay. So what I want you to do is get your squash. You're gonna pop it open. And you have two ways of prepping this squash with the olive oil. You can either spray it with an olive oil spray like I have. I love this one. This is a great one. Or if you have extra virgin olive oil at home, just toss it in the olive oil. Simple, easy. Simple and easy. And we're going to season it as well. So what I do is just getting this onto the pan. Guys, this is what the pan looks like, and it smells amazing. It smells amazing, and I didn't do anything to it yet. It's going right in the oven, the other pan, but I just wanted to give you like an up close. All that color, that's nutrition. That's what's going to keep you young, and that's what's going to keep you beautiful. That's what's going to keep your skin looking gorgeous. It's going to keep your bones working great. I mean, there's really something to be said about these bright, colorful vegetables and fruits. And then, you know, when it's in season, take advantage because that's when the price drops. So let me just show you. While the vegetables are roasting, okay, I'm going to get a pot. I'm going to start to get things going here and get it ready on the stove. But this is a can of a pumpkin that I'm going to add to my soup, okay? It's just plain pumpkin. Do not buy pumpkin pie mix. It's already a pre-made filling, but that's made for baking. We're gonna put this in our soup. This is canned pumpkin, just plain. You can buy any brand you wish, but here's a tip. I like to shop at Aldi, or if you wanna call it Aldi, or whatever you wanna call it. And you may not have that supermarket near you, but I bet you have a supermarket similar. And you know the type of supermarket I'm referring to, the one where you need a quarter to put your cart into your cart to release a cart. And my husband thinks it's a joke. He thinks it's funny. He makes fun of the store. He doesn't get it. He doesn't get my obsession with it. But I really am obsessed with it. I mean, I might not be able to get all my grocery shopping done, but honey, I get majority of it done, and I get it done on a budget. So let me just show you what I mean. This can of pumpkin is 95 cents at my local Aldi. I know that the last time I bought it at the regular supermarket, I'm not gonna say names, but you know what I'm saying, your leading supermarket will charge you double, sometimes even more. So when I'm telling you, when I go to Aldi, this is one of the items that I like to stock up on, because not only is it great to add to my soup, sometimes I add it to my yogurt, I add it to my dog's food. That's the thing, you can use this for many, many things, but it's cheapest at Aldi. Okay. The other thing that I have for my soup that I want to show you that I also recommend to get over there is the broth. I oftentimes make my own vegetable broth or stock, and I leave it in the freezer, and that's the best way to go. But is it always realistic? No, it's not. Sometimes I just need a box of stock, and I like to get it, if it's at the regular supermarket, if it's buy one, get one free, then it's a good deal. But when I'm at Aldi, I always get this one because it's organic. It's vegetable broth, you know, and I have a daughter that's vegetarian, so this meal and meals like this are very important. They're very important in our family, and they're very inclusive, so that everyone comes to the table and enjoys a hearty dish. This is your other money saver though, right here. This is the tip, guys. Okay, so I'm gonna get my pot out. I'm gonna put the broth in the pot, and when the squash gets like that little brown edge, that's going to be flavor. So you'll know when it's done. You may even want to toss your squash and apples halfway into the baking process. I let them bake about 25-30 minutes, but you'll know they'll be soft. You'll be able to pierce them with a fork, and they'll be brown on the edges, and you'll be able to smell it as well. So once the veggies are brown, what we're going to do is we're going to put them into the broth. So here we go. Here's your next step. Super easy. Yum. That's it. It's roasting. I'm going to toss these, let them heat up some more, and get ready to pull them out and put them right into the broth. So I have my pot on a medium, like a medium heat, okay? I'm going to put the broth in, vegetable stock. Again, if you have homemade stock, use that. Okay, and I've already rinsed and ripped the stems off my fresh sage. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and put the sage into the pot. I have 4 or 5 leaves. They're like medium size. Again, you know, I don't really measure much. I go by taste. Once the soup starts to come together, I taste the soup and I could judge what I think the soup needs more of. Does it need more salt? Does it need more black pepper? Could it use a little bit more ginger? What is it that it's missing? Could it use a little bit more pumpkin pie spice? Cloves, you know, and that's a matter of preference. It's a matter of what you like, what your family likes, who you're serving it to. If you have somebody coming that absolutely doesn't like ginger, you don't want to serve this soup. Or if you do, you just want to put a little bit, tiny bit of that ginger where it's just in the background and you don't really know what it is. So I do a lot of sneaky tricks because my husband thinks he doesn't like a lot of things, and I have been sneaking some healthy stuff and some herbs in his food, all legal of course. And he has no idea, and I get such a kick out of it. I mean, he actually told me one time, I don't eat cabbage. I said, you have been eating cabbage, honey, for years. I shave it and put it into salad, and it looks like lettuce to him. He has no idea. You can do that to your kids too, by the way. I used to do that with my little one. I used to hide things. I used to hide, I remember hiding this canned pumpkin in her pancakes a little bit. And she really had no idea because it didn't really affect the texture or the flavor. I used to put that little syrup on it and she had no clue there was vegetables in there. But I digress. I just thought that was some interesting little funny stuff I'd like to share with you. So the broth is heating up. We got fresh sage in there. I'm gonna go ahead and put about, I don't know, about a half a can of pumpkin into the broth while the butternut squash, you know, is cooking. What I want to tell you too is when you get into making this soup, if you feel it's too thick, no biggie, add a little more vegetable broth. If you feel it's too thin, add a little bit more pumpkin. I mean, you just want to start slow with the broth. I just use the 1 carton, and then we'll go from there. If I feel like it's too thick or I want to stretch the soup a little bit, I can always add more vegetable broth. Okay, so sage is in there. Half a can of pumpkin is down in there. You know what? Why waste it? Why don't we just put the whole can in there? And if I need to, I know that I can add the veggie broth, but again, you don't have to put the whole thing. You could save a little bit for your pup, or if you have another thing you want to do with it. But I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put this whole can down in there. So because it's plain pumpkin, I'm gonna add the seasoning to it. I'm gonna make it taste the way I want it to taste. Not really worried about adding too much. In fact, I'm kind of thinking I'm gonna stretch the soup. I'm gonna stretch this 95 cents that I spent on this can of pumpkin at Aldi. Okay, I'm gonna toss this away. Clean as you're cooking. That'll make your life a little bit easier. Clean as you're cooking. Like I said, I already had the sage trimmed and rinsed. So simple. Okay. add a little bit more spices to the broth. Got the nutmeg, a little bit more nutmeg down in there. A little pumpkin pie spice. If you don't have this stuff, and you have nutmeg, cloves, ginger, use it. A little cinnamon, a little of that in there too. So that's all the pumpkin pie spice is really. There's just those ingredients, and you're getting paid because you're paying that it's mixed already. But if you have stuff in your pantry that's still good, still fresh, you can use that. You don't have to go to the store and buy a special pumpkin pie spice for this. I'm actually using the pumpkin pie spice because I have it left over from the fall for making pumpkin pie and different pumpkin muffins. So that's that. Always use your stuff up. Okay, let me show you this. I threw a nice big chunk of fresh ginger. I'm putting that into my soup. This is fresh ginger, guys. So before I started cooking, I really didn't, cooking different things. I've always cooked Italian food. I've cooked from a child. But what I want to say is, because I'm from an Italian culture, we never cooked with ginger. It's just something that we didn't do. I wanted to expand my horizons, and I wanted to cook different things, more American food, just try new things. So fresh ginger, I thought, what am I gonna do? How do I even peel it? You start it off with a little bit of a knife. I cut the edge. You could actually peel it with a spoon, okay? And also, you're not gonna use all of it. What you're gonna do is wrap it tightly when you're done, put it in your freezer. You can then cut a piece off, put it in your soup, or probably you could even grind it, or I do that a lot. You could grind it onto like a cheese grater or grater, and that's good. And this is gonna last you till, you'll know when it's old, but you're gonna put it in the freezer. It'll last you about 3 months. Maybe 4, and then you're saving money that way because you're not wasting anything. Okay, so we're gonna let that come together. I'm gonna add a little bit more black pepper to the soup. Just a little bit more. Once I get the vegetables in here, and I get everything heated when I get it off the pan, then I'm gonna give this soup a taste, and we're gonna see what it actually, if it even needs anything else. It's just amazing. It's amazing. So check this out. I'm getting ready to pull the vegetables out, and this is the broth. Woo-hoo. It's the broth. Okay, hard to see, but everything's in there. The flavors are starting to incorporate. The pumpkin is breaking up. It's becoming part of the broth. It's thickening my broth. It's exactly doing what I want it to do. Have your immersion hand blender ready because you're going to need that. If you don't have one, you can always put this in a just a regular blender. All right, so let me check on my veggies, and if they're done, I'm going to put them right into this pot. Guys, just take a look at this. Oh my goodness, it looks so amazing. Turning it around, the veggies are nice and soft. I think what I'm gonna do is let them bake a little bit longer, and then I'm gonna put them in the broth. It smells so good in here. It smells amazing, beautiful. Yum. So I really did want you guys to see the broth before I put the vegetables in. This is the pumpkin that's just melting into the broth with the fresh sage, pumpkin pie spice, the nutmeg, and the black pepper. You could put a little salt. I didn't because I'm really careful with salt in my household, and I already have it on the vegetables. I like to taste my soup and then decide if I need to add more salt. I just really try to be conservative with it. I do the same with sugar. If I decide I want the soup to have a little bit more sweetness, then I'll put a little bit of brown sugar in there maybe. But again, I'm really conscious of salt and sugar and things like that because I really just try to keep this super healthy. But look at this. It smells amazing too. You'll notice as soon as you start it up and everything starts coming together. Guys, I wanted to show you this. This is the immersion blender. It's often known as a stick blender or a hand blender. This is from KitchenAid. This tool, or gadget I should say, has been so useful to me over the years making soup. It really has. It's also great for making smoothies. And this isn't a tool that I saw in my kitchen growing up with my grandmother, but it's something that over the years I discovered, and I just love it. I love it because I don't have to pour my soup into a blender. I don't have to handle it while it's hot, pouring it into anything. I just simply immerse this down into the pot. And once I get the vegetables out of the oven, that's exactly what I'm going to do. But I want to give you a tip. First of all, KitchenAid, it's the best one. I've had other brands and it didn't help. They didn't hold up like like KitchenAid. KitchenAid really stands by their products, and they're not even paying me for this. And I'm just telling you, I just love it. It's just heavy duty and it works great for me. The other thing is, if you've never used an immersion blender, let me just tell you something. You want to put it into your soup very low to start with, just down into your pot. The reason being is if you start a little higher, you're going to have a giant mess on your hands and you're going to have soup everywhere. So you want to start low and be very careful. Take it easy. We're not in a rush. It's soup. And although this soup is so quick, it doesn't take much to come together at all. Just be careful when you're using the immersion blender not to make a mess in your kitchen, and start it low, because if you get splashed with the soup, it's going to be a little painful for you. Okay, the veggies look soft and delicious and baked perfectly. You'll know they're ready when they're soft. So these are getting ready to go down into my pot right here. Okay, get them in the pot, stir. I'm going to get the other pan and put them into the pot as well. Yum, so delicious. All that goodness. All right, gonna grab the other pan of veggies. Okay, this is the part, guys. This is the part where I take my immersion blender and I just blend and melt everything together. Again, make sure you put it down firmly into the pan. And then turn it on. Why is that so satisfying? I love it. I'm going to show you what this looks like. This is so good. This is like unbelievable. Oh, it smells so good in here. It really does. Okay, I'm going to keep blending it like this until it gets nice and smooth. If it has a little texture in it, that's fine, that's even better. But I'm going to get it as smooth as possible and get it as smooth as I like it. And then I'll show you what it looks like. All right, check this out. This is the soup. Okay, I'm going to turn the heat off. I'm going to add a little bit more broth to it because it's nice and thick. I'm also going to keep a little bit in the refrigerator because here's the thing, guys. Your soup may thicken overnight. And then when you go to heat it up, you may want to have some reserved broth on hand. That's a great idea. And it's going to stretch the soup even further. So I'm going to wipe up around the stove a little bit, and then I'm going to throw some more broth in here, and I'm also going to taste it. I'm going to see. That's what you got to do. You got to remember to taste your food, and you'll see just how much it needs. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. Maybe you want to sweeten it with a little brown sugar if you're not watching your sugar intake so much. It's your soup. Do your thing. This is the base. This is what you got. I'm going to show you and tell you what you can garnish with. You can add brown sugar. You can certainly add cream. But this is a vegan soup for my family, so there will be no cream added. I don't think it needs it. It looks thick and delicious and luscious as it is. In fact, I'm gonna put a little bit more broth just to thin it out a tad. Another carton of my stock. I'm not gonna put the whole thing in. I'm going to pour it gradually to my liking, okay? Okay guys, so I ended up using about a half box of that stock. And I think that this is the perfect texture. If you want your soup thinner, add a little more. Again, keep the reserve in your fridge. And when you go to heat up your soup, if it needs to be thinned out, you've got it right there. It's not gonna affect the flavor. It's gonna be great. So I gave it a taste test. Everything tastes wonderful. Okay guys, I tasted the soup, it tastes wonderful. I ended up putting in probably 2/3 of the box now at this point. I'm also going to put in about a tablespoon or 2 of local raw honey. I don't have brown sugar, so what I'm going to do is local honey. The reason why I like local raw honey is because it's got some antiviral properties that are very beneficial for your health. So if I'm going to sweeten something, I generally like to use the local and raw honey. I am spilling it. Okay. Okay, it's perfect now, guys. So again, you can always make adjustments. If you don't have the brown sugar, use honey. If you don't have either of those, I would say use some maple syrup. Don't be afraid. You can make this soup as sweet as you want. It didn't need any more salt for me, but if you think that your soup does, feel free to add a little bit more salt and taste it as you go. And when you put the broth, when you're going into your second carton, you wanna do it as you go. So I have about another third of this carton left. And I'm probably gonna put it in tomorrow when I heat up the soup and serve it, because what happens is it does, like I said, in the refrigerator, it can thicken a little bit, but here you go, here you have it. It's a pot full of nutrition. How good will you feel serving this to your family? So good. You can totally do grilled cheese on the side for dipping. You can serve it just like this. It's so filling. I'm going to show you how I garnish the soup. Check this out. Okay, this is how I serve the soup. I top my soup with a little bit of chopped apple and some nuts, and you can use the nuts of your choice. And normally what I do, I have dried cranberries chopped in here or dried cherries. I don't have anything like that. So I try to work with what I have in the pantry, always. So I have some of the chopped apple and just some pecans. And let me tell you something, it's gonna add a little bit of texture, a little more depth to my soup, a little more sweetness with the apple. And it's just so beautiful. It makes such a phenomenal presentation. So I really hope you like this video. I'll recap everything for you in just a second, but look at this nutrition. It's beautiful. Okay guys, so I hope you really enjoyed the video. I hope you really enjoy your soup. I hope you really take pride in the fact that you made something delicious, warm, and nutritious for your family. And I just wanted to recap. Just roast your veggies. I'm sure you could do it in an air fryer. We used butternut squash, already pre-cut. We used chopped sweet onion, and we used 2 red apples that we didn't even peel. We baked them. So first we tossed them in olive oil and seasoned them with nutmeg and a little pumpkin pie spice. You could certainly do that with just olive oil and the spices, and maybe possibly even do it in an air fryer. So we took it out of the oven. Meanwhile, we had the pot already with the vegetable broth in it with fresh sage and some black pepper and some more pumpkin pie spice and some more nutmeg. I didn't measure it. I kind of just did maybe a half a teaspoon of each. Same thing when we roasted the vegetables. I put a half a teaspoon of each on there. Again, same probably with the salt and pepper, maybe a little bit less. And it just came out perfect. It came out wonderful. I used a little fresh ginger. If you don't have fresh ginger to put in your pot of broth, just use a little bit, maybe just a half a teaspoon of powdered ginger. That's fine, that's fine. And then the soup, once the vegetables were soft, we put it in the pot. We blended it with our immersion blender. We tasted it. We checked the texture. It was a little thick, so we added a little bit more veggie stock. And that was it. We put it in the bowl, put some chopped apple and some nuts on top. I mean, it is so good, so good. So I will be making more recipes like this that are vegan. Now, my family isn't entirely vegan. I have a vegetarian daughter. I have a son-in-law that likes to eat a lot of vegetarian food. So I do try to incorporate vegan and vegetarian a lot. I do a lot. So if you like that, I'll make that again. But we are not restricted. We are a meat eating family, except for my Ava. And I'll be happy to share whatever you guys, are interested in seeing. But I thought I'd start off with stuff that I make a lot of, that people really respond to, my family enjoys. I thought I would share that with all of you. I think that food is love. I think it's a great way to show your family that you love them and that you care about them. And it also brings me back to things I've learned in my childhood with my grandmother. It reminds me of, just being in the kitchen with her. This isn't a recipe that she would have made, but she gave me skills, she gave me tools, and I'm trying to teach my daughter the same thing. So I'll put more videos up. Like, comment, please subscribe. I do need all the support I can get because I'm new at this, and my videos aren't perfect, but you know what? I'm sharing what I love, I'm sharing what I enjoy, and I'm sharing what works for me. I'm also going to show you again how to save money, and where you can save money, and where you can pick up stuff that costs less. We are all in tough times right now, so any which way we can save money, I'll be sure if I have any tips to share them with you guys. Thanks for watching.